All right, so this is going to be a very exciting episode for me. I'm here at PsychicTai.com. I'll put that link in the description below. And today we're going to do a financial reading, an open financial future reading on myself. But this is a service that Psychic Tai offers. And if you're interested, because this is what I'm interested in, one of the things that we talked about in a previous episode was that throughout the ages, kings, even the Pope, generals, dictators, they had psychics with them. You know, even Hitler, they used seers, fortune tellers, oracles. This is traditional. So if you consider yourself a principled person, someone who would like, an advisor, and it helps to have a financial advisor reading. It's helped me in the past. I've used them for I had particular lawsuits. I was suing people at the time, and it gains tremendous insight. And I figured we'd do it for me and leave it open so others could kind of gain what they could do for themselves when they book with you. So, what do you think about that?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll call this like a financial future advisory reading, something along those lines.
All right.
Okay, so I figured I have a direction I'm thinking of, but I figured I'd give you like a general like to touchdown, so you could kind of like connect to the idea of opening up my financial prosperity, as opposed to, let's say, this is what traditional remote viewers and stuff they like to do is do a crypto reading. Oh, well, we're going to see what Bitcoin's going to do over the next week. The problem is maybe you're not meant to make money in that particular play. And then, it doesn't pan out well for you. So this is just another direction to go into, individualized financial forecast. And what I'd like to do is ask my higher self, see what the blocks there are, see what paths there are forward. And I'll give you some things that are going on in my life so we can navigate that and you can provide insight.
All right. Should I just start off with just seeing what comes up or something specific?
Yeah, no, let's do it that way. I want to see what comes up first.
All right. We'll just take a moment here to get grounded, get set up for this. Okay, so I'm seeing what your higher self wants to communicate about this. So I'm seeing a bow and arrow being shot, or an arrow being shot, and this looks like it's taking a lot of focus here. This is symbolic, of course. And what I'm getting is that there's something that is showing up here in the future that isn't quite happening yet. So it seems like there may be a lot of things that you are focusing this focusing your focus on currently that might not necessarily be as fruitful as something that may come along later. And I'm getting around like 2 years or so. It seems like in a year there's some sort of networking that maybe sooner than that actually, but within a year it seems like there's more of this idea of what it is that you want to do, networking with other people. And I'm getting that this has to do with going other places. There's kind of like this dried up sense that I get, that there's like situations around you seem like they may be drying up, and there's other places. I'm being drawn towards it seems more west of the in the United States, but more not West Coast, but like more central Western. Seems like there may be like land is what I'm getting. This doesn't seem necessarily related to houses as much as land itself. And there may be some people that you can work with here. I'm seeing a group of people here that they might be building houses, or it seems like they have people who work for them. So it's like a big network of people. And it looks like this could be something for the future. This looks like this isn't going to fully manifest until like 2 years or so.
So is this another way of saying, like, I do have a financial boost coming, but it's like coming in the like it's just not yet, like I'm working on something else?
Yeah, I'm getting that what I'm getting is don't lean too far into things that are happening right now. Like there may be some good opportunities, but it seems like trying to just, jump into these opportunities right now may not be as fruitful as opportunities that come along later. So you don't want to get trapped into something, is what I'm getting.
Okay, that makes sense, because is that, as you described it, drying up? They're designed to dry up, so it pushes me in a different direction.
Let me see. So the drying up seems more related to just your locations, the way that it was showing up for me, but that could also imply just the situations your or the methodology that you're using. It's just opportunities. That's what I'm getting. It's just there's less opportunities that are as beneficial as other places I'm seeing. So I don't know why I'm seeing this, like it's like a tattoo of a dragon on an arm, and it looks like this is representing your right arm. So let me see what this is about. Seems like it's reminding me of China. I'm not sure if it's specifically China, but it's Asian, and this seems like, what is this about? So it's on your right hand. This is like, or your right arm. Like this is like the right hand, like representing movements forward here. This seems like this might make more sense to you in the future than it does right now, but it seems like there's something related to changes that may be happening worldwide that affect the economy and the way that you do business. So it just seems like there's something there to keep in mind.
With this business that you're talking about with the land, I with the is this like,
I'm sorry,
developing?
what was that?
Oh, is this the land? Is that developing housing, like a housing community? Is it something like that where I buy up the land and then develop, let's say, a housing community or like an apartment complex?
Yeah, that's the sense I was getting.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want me to look at anything specific about that or something new?
Well, what comes to mind is I'm under contract to buy an island, and you know, I'm always curious of what that is. And then does that mean like this housing development, is this something where I'm just straight investing in, or I'm actually going to move myself closer to this endeavor?
Good question. Okay, let me see what comes up here. This seems like not moving. It seems like there's some issue with moving, and there can be some challenges here, even with visiting. Looks like this is more centered around family life. It seems like there's a very tight bond there, and obviously, just with most people, this is pretty standard. But you know, leaving is not always ideal, and it doesn't look like you're leaving. I just want to be clear about that. Um, but it's like trips going back and forth that can be challenging here, and they seem short. They don't seem like long trips, so I don't see moving being an answer here.
Okay. And what about the island? What role does this play, if any?
Okay, let me see how this relates. It doesn't seem well, these are like, it seems not like it's not that related, but what I do get here is that you want to have some freedom here and not be tied down. So um let me ask, or let me tune into it again, see if there's something I'm not seeing. Yeah, it seems like there's something about pacing yourself and not just going all in. Like what I was saying earlier was not leaning too hard in one direction. So allowing some wiggle room financially is coming
Should I
up as being,
should I not move forward with the island? I do have an opportunity to back out, but not a very big one.
let me see here. It it doesn't seem bad. It just seems like you don't want to get tied up in holding on to this forever, in some manner where your money is invested in it. And I don't know what that would mean for you, but that's just the general sense that I get. Like it seems like there may be additional costs that go into this. I'm saying houses and like maintenance is basically is what's showing up here, and not to get too tied up into that financially.
But a lot of that is um almost like mind reading a little bit, like my current like how I view the overall situation. Can you tune into my higher self and ask, you know, if I should, what role does this island play? I mean, I'm not coming into it with greed. I fell on it with excitement, and the messages that I get are like legacy and things like that. So, but then there's uncertainty as well, like putting all my eggs in one basket and things like that. So, can you ask my higher self?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What is your higher self to communicate here? Well, I'm seeing a lightning bolt, and it's like something about precision and doing it with force. And so it does seem like this is a bold move that is beneficial. it seems that I'm getting the sense that your family is happy from this as well. Um, so let me see more. Yeah, it does seem like a good thing. I get something about it being temporary or not to overdo it. But yeah, it seems like a very positive thing. Let me tune into if there's anything more that your higher self has to say about this. I get the word grace, like there may be ways of going about this, and you want to be graceful in some sense of the word. I think that this would mean doing things at a pace that works for you, where you're not just going overboard with trying to do too much at once, too fast, financially, that is. It looks like there's a lot of excitement here. And so doing things fast is not a bad thing. But financially, specifically, holding some money back, saving, keeping some saved money aside seems important here. But it does look very joyful. I'm seeing this being a very joyful thing. So your higher self is basically like coming down with this lightning bolt, um, like it looks good.
Okay.
The lightning is like power, you know.
Okay. You started off when I was like, all right, well, what's going on, with my financial prosperity, or maybe I said blocks. The first thing you mentioned was bow and arrow, and it got my attention. Without leading you too much, can you give me insight what that was? It was symbolic, but you almost opened up, but you didn't go explain the bow and arrow too much.
Okay. Yeah. So my initial impression was that that just had to do with focus and where you were aiming, but I can see
Uh,
something more
okay.
about. This has to do with the intellect. Um, it's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of how tarot cards have like the swords. I think those, I'm not that great into tarot cards, but I think that represents mind or something like that. Kind of like that, the way that the bow represents the intellect. Let me see more about this for specifically your situation here. This is about just where you're aiming. It's really just that simple. And sometimes symbols can come through that may mean more to you than me, and I may not necessarily even understand the context of it.
Okay. Could it have to do with like, I do understand aiming and where my attention goes, because then you mentioned about um kind of like leaning too hard in certain projects, but could it have anything to do with like any little battles or drama? I have current family drama, just as a put it out there for everyone, so they
For
just for the
everyone,
sake just for the sake of understanding how it could apply to yourself. But is this somehow um like an energy leak where it's like taking some of my focus or taking some of my attention? Is it something I should be working on? Because I do get messages regarding this, and I just can't agree with the messages, and I struggle with this issue.
okay, I'll just see what comes up here. The general message I get here is that you don't want to use this as an escape, like honing in on things and trying to, push yourself to achieve things as a way to distract yourself from those things in the way that you can kind of, people can say, like, use, like, you're having you might be angry and somebody says like use that anger, but like this is basically saying don't do that, don't like try and funnel it somewhere else, because things like that
Mm.
is not helpful, and it can be kind of like what I was saying, leaning too far in one direction, rather than kind of being more patient, letting things kind of play out a little bit more throughout time, I guess. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if
Sure, sure.
I
I mean, you know, all of this is vague. Sometimes that's enough. Like you have to hear what you need to hear. So another thing that I have that's active is I have some condos for sale, and this was like a larger play, you know, for the island. And you know, I don't really like real estate agents too much. I find them to be parasitic in these deals, and they just annoy me. They get in the way, and the one that I'm working with right now is proven my, you know, my disdain for them a little bit. And I'm just always trying to like be friendly and keep cool, because sometimes I get a little bit too assertive. And I guess what I'm getting at is like, a question. You know, I'm half stepping it. I don't know if it's a good move to sell the condos, or maybe yes, sell the condos, but then sell them individually. And then will someone come along and buy it? Can we maybe do a time movement into a year from now and then look back and see how the condos played out? That
yeah.
would make sense. So move forward a year and then say, okay, hey, future self, what
Yeah,
was the best play in the condos?
it doesn't really seem that great is my first impression here, but let me tune in a little more. Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of frustration is the best word I would say here to describe it. Um, it's not like necessarily bad, but it just doesn't look like it's that great. So this could actually be part of what I was seeing earlier about not being too invested in things. Um, Let me see more about this condo. It seems like there's a good amount of stress, and I'm seeing money moving around. Like it has to, there may be a lot of things with monetary exchanges that aren't something that you necessarily want to be doing all the time. And it just doesn't really seem that profitable. Um,
Not profitable to sell it, or not
no,
profitable
no,
to
no,
keep it?
to keep it long term.
Um, but if
Yeah,
I move
just
forward a year, like if I'm in 2024 and I look back, how did this sell play out? Because I did put them up for sale.
oh, okay. How does the selling them play out? Okay,
Yeah, like if I would assume a year from now, this is like history.
okay, yeah. Let's see. There seems to be something that's a little agitating here, but it's nothing serious. I'm just trying to understand what this is. It seems like there was, or I mean, I guess the future is not set in stone. Obviously, the purpose of seeing this is to change it. But what I'm getting is that there's a potential of trying to sell it too soon to someone, and there could be something um, where you're like, oh, I wish I would have waited just a little bit longer and worked something else out with someone else. Um, let me see
Did I
more
get the
about.
amounts that I wanted?
Did you get the amounts that you wanted? I mean, I don't get the sense that you didn't get the amount that you wanted. Seems like there's something where you're like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that a little bit more through, where you could have gotten a little bit more or saved money in some way. I'm not keen
Like
into
what?
this. Let me see. It's just I'm getting the agreement, the something about just the agreement itself.
Hmm. Okay, so I'll save that for another time because I want this to be an open reading for how people could, not everyone has a bunch of condos for sale. So let's go in a slightly different direction. So you and I had discussed prior about financial uh predictions and how as like if the person becomes the thing that acquires more money, it's like a more of like an inner transformation. And this is what happened to me at one point. I feel like I had a shift, like a transformational shift where I became different and my identity was different and my money increased. So I just want to tune into my higher self and see like, is there adjustments that I should be or not be making that will increase my prosperity? Or perhaps should I, or do I already have like a life contract where things are already destined to play out? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. When you ask that question about the life contracts, there seems to be some sort of I want to say turbulence that's showing up here.
Oh no.
It's not always a bad thing because that's how you learn. It's kind of like if you turned on a video game and it was like too easy, you'd be like, this is stupid. Why am I even playing this game? You know? So let me see more about this. These are challenges that your higher self and on some level you, some part of yourself has agreed on doing as challenges in life to overcome. This has to do with family. And I'm getting priority is something here. Being able to have control over yourself as an individual, but also being part of the network. And I think everybody deals with this kind of like that balance. Seems like you're wanting to really take care of people here and be very tight and like a tight bond here, but then there's also this need to break away and have your own space that there just seems to be some sort of lesson, I guess, about balancing those two things out so that you can, so to speak, have your space or be grounded while being in a tight network with other people is kind of like almost contradictory. It sounds like, but it's not contradictory. It's just in the way that some people may lose themselves to the experience they're having with other people. And this is about being grounded within yourself. So that seems to be coming up as something that you have intentionally put there to develop yourself spiritually through this lifetime. Let me see how this is affecting finances, or what that has to do with finances. And it looks like this is actually part of the process of becoming more successful in business, is being able to establish that.
Okay, so my question is like, does this relate, as you pointed out, to a life contract, but is this also a shift in identity? Like, if I become the person who is of the state of mind to essentially be at a concert, but then have like concentration. Like what you've described
Oh,
is
okay.
something that comes to mind is like, you mentioned family, I wrote it down, family, control over a self, but part of a network. And it's common where your external influences kind of like drive your current state of being. But if my state of being was, locked and secure and I had this, rock solid state of being, the family bubble wouldn't, um, like kids running around wouldn't interfere with my mindset.
Yeah, it seems like there's a natural tendency for people to, share energy when they're next to each other, and that's great. But there's also an ability where people learn to have seniority, so to speak, over their own space and set the tone within their own energy field. So, like, even if they're sharing energy energetically with other people, they're still owning their personal space. And so it's like, you're still able to, I think a good metaphor is like a meeting with a bunch of people, and they're all throwing ideas back and forth, brainstorming, um, and being able to still hold your own view, and not necessarily cater to the consensus, but also being able to work with the other people.
Okay.
Makes
Okay.
sense for business as well, and it just seems like this is more of a energetic situation
Hmm.
that manifests into the physical, but it goes both ways.
Okay.
If you master
But
one, you master the other.
hmm, interesting. Um, I'll have to sit on that. Is there anything else contemporary from my higher self specifically that I should be working on in terms of, finances, just to keep the theme of the reading?
Yeah, let's see here. I'm seeing a piece of paper here, and there's something about being very sharp about wording that seems to be important here. Let's see, what is this about? This is about legalities leading into the future. This does not seem to be related to any particular monetary exchanges going on at the moment. This seems more related to, let me see here, what is this related to? Planning, excuse me, planning for the future regarding this land that you're purchasing, and what you're doing with it. And it looks like there may be tax loopholes or information with taxes that you may want to look at and take advantage of and pay close attention to, is what I'm getting here.
Hmm.
That may be of some
Like
benefit.
like a 1031 exchange, I guess, or I guess I'll just look into it.
I am
Um,
not I am not that knowledgeable about taxes.
well, that's what's
But
so interesting about it. Just to for the person who's listening to this, it's like you're hitting things and you're saying particular things that are, you know, related to, what I'm doing. It's like, the condo. It's like, you mentioned maintenance of I'm sorry, the island, maintenance of the island. You've mentioned what was it, like building onto the island is complex because you need a barge, and you hinted on that, and maybe I should have elaborated for the listener. But it's like you say little things. It's almost as if you know what's going on, and it's very validating for me as a as a as the readee, I guess, how you'd say it. But anyways, just to keep a tempo here, keep it moving on. Um, Another angle that people might be interested in is they have kids. I have kids. I'm interested in their financial future. And one contemporary issue that all parents face is like the screen time and Netflix and YouTube. It's very captivating and it draws them in. And there's also a lack of scarcity. I feel like when I grew up, I had scarcity, and it's what giving me like a lot of ambition. There's the common theme with people who are, wealthier, ambitious, or they always want more. It's like it usually stems from a fear of lack as a kid, and then it kind of manifests into ambition later on. And I'm like, well, how do I provide that for my kids without starving them or something, you know, or beating them or giving them hardship? It's like I'm a good dad, It's like, how do you? So, yeah, I want to know about their success and how to best guide them and what's going on, for the future, because it's tricky. Anyone who's a parent knows it's tricky, especially with boys, maybe girls too. But it's like you don't know what benefits them, and you don't know what their paths are, and they're all different. They have their own little personalities. So, can we view their future financial reading?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. You have two boys, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I have two boys.
Okay. I'll just start with do you want to just say one of their names and I'll just start with them?
Yeah, one is Benjamin. First one's Benjamin.
Benjamin. Okay. Let's see here. Benjamin, financial future. I'm seeing a lot of curiosity here that can be used for definitely being successful in the future. It looks like this could lead to curiosity and I get the sense like psychology or something like that, but not psychology itself, but it's some sort of study similar to that. It seems like it's like a jumble of different things and interests. So it does seem like this is later on. This is not right now, but moving into, more adult years, there's definitely this professional energy that I'm seeing. So back to your question about what can you do as a parent, let me see what comes up for that. I'm trying to understand what this means, but I'll just describe it as it comes to me. I'm seeing these like, they look like pieces of bamboo, and this is symbolic, and they're cut at different lengths. And you're showing these to him and describing what's going on. So I'm going to see what does this mean. These are different outcomes, and you're showing how different choices people make lead to different outcomes. And this is like a meter of wealth. It's not just wealth, it's also just general stability, within someone's life, which can also mean just joy and relationships and being happy in general. So it looks like there's something about just showing different people pointing things out that can stimulate his interest. It seems kind of obvious, but that's what's coming up here. Let me see if there's anything more specific. I'm getting that there may be some kind of mixed emotions in your personal life. Things like, metaphor I'm getting is like a drying, like a dryer with clothing in it that's kind of spinning around, and it's kind of like could be holding you back from some of these interactions, but it looks like having an optimistic mindset about what they have in their future and just pointing that out to them and celebrating things with them in that manner seems very helpful to also kind of help yourself get through this. Let me see more about the finances. Yeah, he seems like not so much interested in the profit as much as his own personal interests that are like leading to career paths, and it seems very positive in that manner. So I don't see him necessarily having any problems, although that may take a little while. Okay, leave it
Okay.
at that
Okay.
for now. I
That's
can go
pretty good.
other things.
No, that's
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. And just for also some feedback for you, when you were talking about the bamboo cut at different lengths, I actually have a book that I wrote. It's a children's book. It's called Acquire What You Admire. It's on Amazon, and it's by The Incredible Universe. If anyone wants to look it up, but I made it for them. I made it for the kids. It's a principle that is not taught by anyone. It's just how to view the world and how to make decisions and how to cut through it, and see the world very plainly. And I actually wanted to sell the idea, not for profit, just because it creates value for someone. If I just told people what it is and how to do it, it wouldn't create. But it was meant for the kids. It's like, all right, here's how the world. This is how you should listen to people. Anyways, when you broke it down, how to make decisions with the bamboo, I don't know, kind of related it to the book, but I don't know if I can.
awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just give it to you. Anyways, let's move on to the second child. Hopefully, this
Okay.
is not too for people not interesting, but we'll see. We'll just throw it out there, and
Yeah.
but this is how your own personal reading can go, and I think this is helpful and
Yeah.
actionable. I'm writing down a lot of things that are going to familiarize myself, but um,
Yeah. I have a decent amount of people who have asked me to do just like readings on their kids, and I've just read like the troubles they'll go through in life and kind of where they're heading. Of course, obviously nothing's written in stone, but that's the general path energetically where they're aligned at the moment. So I can get into all sorts of stuff. Just sticking to
that's
finance
great.
for now.
I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, you know what? But if there's something else that's screaming out, please throw it out. Because
Okay.
Earth is meant to test you. This is like misunderstanding that you're going to be a parent, just like I just want my kids to be happy. Throw that idea in the garbage. There's no happiness like that. It's meant to give you life lessons, and the best thing you could do for your kids is give them a mindset to like head on challenges, meet challenges head on, be like a sailboat, like directing yourself into the storm, and have all the abilities to like face your challenges and deal with life. It's like there's no one who gets out of life and goes down and I'm happy. It's like it doesn't exist. The best thing you do for kids is make them
Yeah.
strong-minded, right? So you
You
don't know
find
if they're gonna
joy.
have drug finances. Understand, get the money, have like, stay away from drugs. You never know who's gonna fall into that. And sometimes I feel
I have
like,
seen,
what's that?
I have seen that in someone's child. I read for them one time.
What do you think YouTube does? YouTube is a dopamine thing. It's like now you're addicted to it from a young kid. We never had that growing up. Didn't exist. I had Ninja Turtles, Simpsons, a handful of shows, but there wasn't so much content. And now you're addicted to the dopamine release. Your food is really poor. So that translates into drugs. It's just the graduation from, what it is. So that's what I see. I don't know. That's why I'm bringing this up, and how an advisory role could, be helpful. But anyways, let's move on to Jonathan, little Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan. All right. It seems more in the moment, but less focused on the future. And it seems like there could be a little bit more um, unwillingness to participate, I guess you could say, within the career financial sector. I'm seeing him wanting to. Well, I know this is really popular with kids these days, teenagers these days, to live with their parents, and so it seems like there may kind of be leaning more in that direction, wanting to not move out and
Oh
not be.
hell no, I. Okay, but continue.
Yeah. But that's the impression I'm getting, is he seems like he's a little more reluctant in that manner. Let me see what else comes up here. I'm seeing a lot of interaction between him and his mother, and this being a bigger part of his life um, than your other child. And that being a way to really help him through that relationship, to find something that he's interested in, that he wants to follow. But it seems that this may be more of a challenge as far as finances go. Uh, I am getting more like TV types of things like that you were talking about coming up here, being distracted. So let's see, what can you do to help along this situation? Word stimulant is coming up, which is an interesting word, but I'm seeing the news, like a newspaper, and there being information in the news, and teaching more about how the economy works. Not just the economy though, because that can be kind of boring, but to a child. But information that is a big deal, that's going on in the news, that is engaging, and it seems like that creates more awareness outside of what's being picked up on. Well, I'm seeing TV that could represent social media and other things, but the way that I'm seeing it is a TV, so interpret that how you will, I guess. But that seems to create more curiosity in him, that leads to Let me see what happens here. Yeah, wanting to be in group projects with other people, like classes, and there's less of this desire to just stay home and watch TV, and more of a participation in group dynamics that can be encouraged, and that seems to be very helpful. Also, forming an opinion is coming up here, like giving him the tools to form his own opinion, and kind of asking him what his opinion is on situations, and like sharing opinions. And is that him in the background?
Yeah, no, I mean, what comes to mind is something I was thinking about when I was like brushing my teeth this morning. Is it's important for people to like form their own opinions as opposed to going with like what the mass media puts out, mainstream media. And
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like almost like if the mainstream media tells you something, it's almost like you're better off believing the opposite because if I have a saying, I must have picked it up somewhere, but if you didn't pay for the information, then you're the product. It's like when these billionaires, Bill Gates, when they take on a project, they have a research team that'll go in there and give them all sorts of data and insight to a particular subject. And it's like we don't have access to those tools. And we're just kind of given like this contemporary knowledge or knowledge, whatever the mainstream information is, president campaign or whatever. And
agenda.
that's what everyone, yeah, it's like that's what everyone talks about, but it's like there's no opinion that you formed yourself. It's like people usually just adopt opinions, or they hear something and they reject it. So I was thinking, all right, this is something
Very,
I have to teach my kids. So when you were talking about the stimulants, the newspaper, those are like stimulating, like, oh, this is what's going on today, and then kind of like how everything works to form your own opinion. Is that, and I'm asking,
yeah.
is that what was coming through? Did that ring a bell? Kind of form.
That definitely resonates with what I was picking up for sure. Yeah.
All right, so teach them that stuff. So yeah, and any of you guys who like mainstream media and you like all that stuff, take that lesson also. It's like
Yeah,
don't
it's
listen to it.
good days.
It's like more toxic than ever. And it's what people want you to think. So therefore, take it with a grain of salt. But anyways, I think we did an hour, it feels like, and we covered a
Yeah,
range of topics. And this was a great example advisory role of how I was able to kind of hit the ball back and forth and help me think about things through, with psychic insight, move forward in time, go forward a year, see that there's other opportunities when I'm selling my condos, get a little bit of a tax loophole from the island, look for ways to, guide my children at this stage, make sure my youngest is not a mama's boy, and other little things that we'll see how it unfolds. But I hope this was helpful for people so they can not get a generalized reading. Sometimes you can get specified, personalized areas of your life. And I think that's helpful to essentially guide your own reading in this way, in this manner. But is there anything else coming through specifically from my higher self? I find my higher self as the best stuff.
just in general,
Yeah,
any
yeah, yeah.
what's it comes up? I'm saying a newspaper again, and I'm saying just it's like just read the newspaper is the message that I'm getting here. It seems like things are gonna be changing. Um, is this economically? Let's see. It seems like things are going to be changing, and so sticking with just what you have planned out. I'm saying that there's going to be a lot of changes. So let me see, what does your higher self want to say about what it's? Well, yeah, I'm seeing you in a car driving. It seems like there's reason to be driving around and going other places. There may be a little bit of turbulence in the next year, 2 years, before it seems like things really click into place and start to even out and balance out, become more smooth, however you want to say it. What's the advice for this turbulence? Just hear the words "be yourself." That's pretty obvious, I think. See if there's anything more specific here. It's like you're being handed a baton and being told to do your own tricks. Be your own man.
Okay,
And then,
like have my own discernment kind of a thing.
Independence rather than it doesn't have to do with male energy as much as just being independent in general.
Okay, all right, very good. I think this was very helpful for me. I don't know how interesting it will be for others, but we'll leave this out there as a showcase. And I hope this is helpful for other people. But I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. If you want a reading with Psychic Tai, go to psychictai.com. I really recommend it. I've been through them all. I've been through, good psychics, bad psychics. Sometimes good psychics are not good. You see that they have skill, you see there's a skill set, but over time you find out that there's a certain toxicity to them. They're opinionated, they mix their ability with their conscious thought, they mislead you, they're insecure themselves, they have issues themselves. I've seen this time and time again. I don't want to name a bunch of names, but just trust me on that. So when you find someone with skill that's worth paying for, I've also seen people who believe that they're psychic and they're not psychic. You could just, run with it. And you wonder what the hell they're even doing, taking people's money and putting on a show. Psychic Tai is the real deal. He sees things in a certain way. He's honed in on his ability over the last year that I've been watching it. They're very symbolic in nature. He maintains neutrality, and there's no agenda. He means well, that the positivity is there, and believe it or not, that's very important. So, you know, get yourself a reading, get one for your friends. I don't know, but I hope this was helpful, and I really hope that others benefit from this. So, thank you guys. Peace out,
Thank
everyone.
you, Craig. Kind
All right.
words, and everybody else.
All right.
Have a good
See you in the next one.